Didn't know whether to fight the turkey or to run. My first instinct, I ran. Over the last 7 years, I inspected about 4,000 cars for Lemon Squad. The most craziest story that I ever ran into is when I was inspecting an RV. You know, RVs come with tons of problems, and this one right here did. Remember when I first came down the driveway, I'm glad I had a truck. I always liked SUVs, but it was a Ford Explorer, and when I first came down, there was a creek that you had to drive across. The water was only about maybe 2 inches, but it was a clear creek that you had to drive over. And that 2 inches was because they had like a makeshift bridge there. So I remember driving over there. I got a little nervous because the house is in the back, wooded area. So I was a little nervous when I first got there. The RV was in bad shape. Anytime I see an RV that doesn't have a cover over top of it or it's inside of like a carport, you automatically know that it's probably gonna have some issues with it, especially on the rooftop. So I'm always a little bit more suspicious of those RVs. A lot of times I see on them is the level system leaks on them. Sometimes the plumbing doesn't work correctly on there. You definitely want to. I always try to suggest people to don't look at it when it's been winterized. Wait till everything's working at full capacity. They have propane in there. Wait till they have the gray water tank filled up. Be able to use the gray water tank, be able to turn the heater on and everything like that. When it's winterized, a lot of stuff you can't look at. So I always would say don't have it winterized when you look at it. But the thing that stuck out to most to me is the pet turkey that the young lady's daughter had. When I first came up, saw it from a distance, really didn't mind me too much. But I laid down to the ground to look underneath the RV. And as I did, I noticed at the corner of my eye, the young girl and her turkey walking closer. I don't want to be on the ground with a turkey walking up. So I started to stand up and the turkey gets a little aggressive and starts running at me. Didn't know whether to fight the turkey or to run. My first instinct, I ran. So as I started running, I hear the young girl call the turkey back, and the turkey went back with her, and her mom asked her to take the turkey over there. I never saw a big bird like that before. 30 pounds of running at you. I'm a New Jersey guy. That made me nervous. She called it, I thought she called a regular person. I remember that right there. I can't remember the turkey name. It was a regular person's name, though. I get this inspections often from this place that sells classic cars. I love going out there because they sit on about 40 acres of land. When you first get in the gate, they have two classic Cadillacs mounted on the actual gate. So you drive in, the driveway's about a mile long, and the son has a house built right on the same property, and the father's is to the right. But you go in there, and the first thing you notice is a saloon built with a life-size Elvis Presley and about good 40 garages, individual garages, side by side. And you go inside these garages, each one probably has about 10 cars in there, all classic cars from the late 60s to the early 70s. The guy there actually rebuilds them from the ground up, paintwork, everything. He does remarkable work. But I was there one time because they made two duplicates of I believe it was a Chevelle, but it was gold color. It was made for the Fast and Furious movies. But they were making them, and they all they had was the engine, transmission, some seats, but they were like they was going to end up wrecking them. But they made them clean enough to look nice inside the Fast and Furious. So that was pretty cool right there because this guy does some exceptional work. At this particular location, I probably inspected close to 45, 50 at this location of old school cars. And they have some real nice cars there. I remember hopping out of the car, and I was always in awe of all this land that they have. And I'm looking at everything. And out the corner of my eye, I see two of the Doberman pinschers that live on the property running directly at me. That right there really shook my nerves because I had a ankle brace on one foot and I was about 10 feet away from my car. So running was not an option. The only thing I had in my hand is my clipboard. And I remember I had a pocket knife. And the first thing I did was just put the clipboard up to guard and then pull my pocket knife out. And I was just ready to go. And fortunately, I hear somebody call the dogs and they both stopped. It like it was a male and female. They looked like they was a couple, but they stopped and it went back the other way. I was able to breathe a sigh of relief and just go to inspect the car. But now every time I go there, I sit in my car for a while until I see the Dobermans put up. So I've been doing inspections for years in the automotive industry as a full-time technician when people bring their cars in. Working at a dealership once, the customer came in with a horrible smell inside their car. They couldn't figure it out. We started a little search. If you got to search with your nose, that's just the worst thing to do. But we ended up having to just charge them probably like for 5 8 hours, about 5 or 6 hours. And all we did was just take out the seats, pulled up this carpet, the trim in every place. And every now and then you get closer and closer because of the smell of your nose. But that's the only way to find it, is to follow your nose and start taking parts out of the car periodically. Why? Sniff it again to find out exactly where the rodent's body's at, which is never a fun process. This was actually underneath the carpet inside the ventilation system that went to the rear vents for the rear seats. So they actually, a lot of times they'll climb in from the fresh air vents, climb up through there, go to the front, and get to the back ones. But yeah, when they go in there and they can't find their way back out, they're going to pass away inside of there. That was easily a $2,000 mold. And when it comes to the labor cost and the labor of taking everything out, yeah. And then we wanted to replace the vents because the carcass rotted inside of there. No cleaning out, just replace the vents. But easily just for letting your car sit for too long. I started working on cars when I was 17 in 1997. I really accepted it as a job, I think, when I found peace in doing inspections. One thing that I like about inspections, it's no longer a service advisor, or it's no longer a quota. It's no longer any management in place to stop me from telling the customer the absolute truth. And that's where my piece comes in, because it's just pretty much me and the customer. I can just see the car, write a good thorough report up, and send it over to the customer, and they see my words. And I like that right there. It takes away a lot of middlemen. It takes away a lot of confusion. I can find something on every car. I know that for sure. But I think the most important things is the what's recommended and what's needed. If we're going on that right there, the stuff that's needed, I probably see about 40% of cars need something before you should put it on the road. Need some type of service or some type of repair, or some need either further diagnosis on some in particular system of the car. The cars that just can go that you can just hop in right now, I will put that in the 15% range. Those typically are certified pre-owned cars. Cars that's owned by elderly people. I like those cars a lot because the inspection is a lot quicker, a lot faster, and less things wrong with the car. And I'll always be happy when a person has to only order one inspection. I had one gentleman that actually, I noticed it was about the fourth inspection his name came through the same type of cars. And the car was about 12 years old. And so you can already imagine a 12-year-old modern car is going to have some issues with it. But if you got good things like a solid engine, a solid transmission, good heat and AC, little stuff like maintenance, replacing brakes, or doing tires or stuff, that's a small feat. One other thing that I always see is that a lot of times people expectations on cars be a little bit too high. One thing that I do, I just purchased a 2012 Toyota Highlander about 2 years back. And I know for certain that if some people would have got my inspection report, they wouldn't have bought the car. But that was about 60,000 miles ago. The only thing I had to replace was a hub bearing outside of oil changes and transmission fluid. But when I first got the car, I changed the oil and I changed the transmission fluid. I changed the differential fluid. I changed the brake fluid, air filter, cabin air filter. I probably put about $1,000 into it when I first got it. But that's right there will help me not have to worry about anything for the last 60,000 miles. So that's what I think people should do when they get a car, especially if you got 100,000 miles. Expect to put some money into it when you get it, because the dealership is not responsible for stuff outside of safety.
For a limited time, Glossett's best ever DIY ceramic coating deal is back. Last year, too many of you ordered it and it broke his site for a little while. But now, just the first 2,000 of you can get Glossett's $150 bottle of graphene ceramic coating for just $69.99, and you get a free $50 bottle of their ceramic detail spray, which makes the application a breeze. So click right now at the link in the description below to get yours.